Hi guys, I'm live in my living room with a guitar. I'm jamming and also some talking, so join me. Love you guys, peace, love, and rock and roll. So now that the amp has been, I haven't had the amp on with just the battery, it's had the power supply into it. So maybe it was the battery itself having it with just the battery that made it do weird sounds, because it's not doing weird sounds now. It sounds pretty good. This morning when I first put it in, the adapter in, when it had the battery going, it was making weird noises, but it's not now. It's without the radiator right now. Yeah, that's not even the radiator to add the distortion. Start this lesson by a comment to just say that if I suck, maybe I suck, and if I suck, and that's great, I suck. Get that out of the way, right? At least it helps me keep a beginner's mind to show shin, which the editor always told me to have. Okay, so I want to teach some, play some, and just have fun. The first idea I want to say is with alternate picking, one of the secrets I just learned today about alternate picking is, first let me describe something. There's downstrokes and there's upstrokes. The downstrokes are push with the thumb, which is bigger, which is the big digit, and that's pushing. And the upstrokes are with the first finger, which is a smaller digit than the thumb, and it's pulling. And you can push with the thumb faster and harder than you can pull with the finger against gravity, whereas the thumb is pushing with gravity. So it seems to me that there's an automatic disadvantage to the downstroke by just the fact that your finger is smaller than your thumb and that you're going up against gravity instead of down with gravity as far as the downstroke goes. Upstrokes are against gravity, downstrokes are with gravity. So to me, that seems to be an imbalance in the physical nature of playing guitar that should be counterbalanced by just try to be conscious of that and try to not let that happen. Try to accentuate the upstroke if you can, or at least not make it. Don't do really strong downstrokes and then weak upstrokes. You know, I'm speaking for myself as well. That's cool. That's what I'm talking about when I thought about this in the first place. So try to use your upstrokes. Just try to emphasize them if you get the chance, and also start with an upstroke sometimes. Don't always start with a downstroke. Reverse polarity. As Rush says in Vital Signs from Moving Pictures 1981, everybody's got a reverse polarity. Go up, down, up instead of down, up, down. So sometimes start with an upstroke. Here's starting with a downstroke. What about starting with an upstroke? Sounds a little different. That's cool. Let me do some fiddling with my instrument for a second. No, I don't spend an hour testing my guitar before I go live. I don't make sure that there's no adjustments to be made and that everything is studio quality ready. I just kind of pick my guitar up, tune it a little bit, make sure everything's plugged in and go live. I'm sorry if that irks some of you, but and so that's tightening the bridge. And you want to make sure the nut's tight, but not really too tight, just tight enough to not let the string slip. And then tune. And then adjust your action. I think my action on the high strings is a little high, so I'm gonna go clockwise to make it go down. Clockwise lowers the action. Counterclockwise raises the action. So I lowered the action a little bit. Stroke. Now up. Just practice starting with an upstroke. There's that. So just try to be conscious Lower my action even more. Maybe the hot weather is bending the wood in my guitars. Bottom strings, the low strings are also too high. Let's lower those. Now it's a little too low. Just drop my pick. Let's raise it a little bit. Yeah. So raise it, lower it even more. High strings. All right. Obviously, I'm not that used to. I'm not that used to starting with an upstroke. I got to work on it myself. So it sounds more. That's better. Let's have the raderator. Major 7 sometimes. Harmonic minor. Recap what I just explained. Use up strokes when you're alternate picking, just down strokes. Visualize, get your head around what you're playing so you can feel it, not just play it. And don't always use harmonic minor. Sometimes use natural minor. But when you're using harmonic minor, sometimes emphasize the major seventh. It makes you sound professional and makes you emphasize the harmonic minor-ness of the scale, because this major seventh is what makes the harmonic minor different from the natural minor, because the natural minor has a minor seventh rather than a major seventh. So there's that to remember. Use hammer-ons from nowhere, which I kind of call left-hand tapping, but whatever. And just have fun. So now I'm going to shift to another area of playing, and hope you guys don't mind. The chords and my theories of chords I have, and just bear with me if you can, if you want to. Chords are important. Let's put the red rate off for a second, so it's not just as distorted as maybe it can be. I like a little thing like this. Start with a diminished seventh thing. Like I can go, I can do this. Watch this. This is a D sharp diminished seventh chord. If I lower the D sharp to D, I get a D dominant seventh chord. again, let's start with that D sharp diminished seventh chord. And flat the A to an A flat. Suddenly I have an A flat dominant seventh chord. Flat the sharp the A flat back to A. I got a D sharp diminished seventh chord again. See where I'm going with this? If you don't, well, that's okay. Maybe you will. Here's the same D sharp diminished chord. If I lower the C to B, suddenly that's a rhyme. Suddenly I get a B dominant seventh chord. Raise the B back to C. I got a D sharp diminished seventh chord again. Fourthly, start with a D sharp diminished seventh. If I flat the F sharp to F, I have an F dominant seventh chord. If I sharp the F back to F sharp, D sharp diminished seventh chord again. So that's really cool. So here's how about let's do a B diminished seventh chord. Flat the B to B flat. B flat dominant seventh chord. Sharp the B flat back to B. B flat diminished seventh again. If I take that same B diminished seventh and I flat the F to E. Back to F. I've got a B diminished seventh again. If I again start with a B diminished seventh, and I flat the G sharp to G. The G dominant seventh. Sharp the G back to G sharp. B diminished seventh again. Again, B diminished seventh. Flat the D to C sharp. C sharp dominant seventh chord. Sharp the D, C sharp back to D. Let's do that in arpeggio terms and area. Let's take a C diminished seventh arpeggio. That's C diminished seventh. C, E flat, F sharp, and A. If I flat the C to B, I get a B dominant seventh chord. Sharp the B back to C, back to C diminished seventh. If I take the E flat and flat it to D, I have a D dominant seventh chord. I sharp the D back to E flat. Got a C diminished seventh arpeggio. I take the F sharp and flatten it to F. I have an F dominant seventh chord. I sharp the F back to F sharp. Got a C diminished seventh chord again. I flat the A to A flat. I've got an A flat dominant seventh chord. Sharp the A flat back to A. I've got a C diminished seventh arpeggio again. So what's more? C diminished seventh. B dominant seventh. C diminished seventh. D dominant seventh. C diminished seventh. F dominant seventh. C diminished seventh. A flat dominant seventh. C diminished seventh. So any note in a diminished seventh that's flattened will give you a dominant seventh arpeggio. And if you sharpen it back up, it gives you the diminished seventh arpeggio again. Now, I almost forgot to do this, but I didn't. I was in my music and everything, but I have a friend named Britt. She's a friend. I call her once in a while. She almost always answers me. Even when everyone else doesn't answer me, Britt answers me. She's a good friend. And so for her, I'm wearing blue pants. These are blue pants, which it's her favorite color. I thought of her when I bought these. And this is the letter B for Britt. That I got this patch today, which is also a blue patch. And I put it on my blue pants for her. Thank you for being my friend, Britt. I appreciate it. A blue B. She has a friend named Seth that talks to me too sometimes. Hi, Seth. Thanks for being my friend too. Seth sent me some videos of the party last October 25th of 2025, where I played a party, and Seth sent me some of the videos I put on my YouTube channel of me playing. So thank you, Seth, for that. Appreciate it. Love you guys, Britt and Seth. So yeah. So any note in a diminished seventh arpeggio, if you flatten it, you get a dominant seventh arpeggio. And since there's 4 notes in a diminished seventh arpeggio, there's four different dominant sevenths that can come from depending on which note you flatten. So you get 4 dominant sevenths for each diminished seventh chord, potentially. And then since there's 3 diminished seventh chords in all of 12-tone music, and each one has 4 dominant sevenths attached to it. 4 times 3 is 12, which is all 12 dominant seventh arpeggios in Western music. It's because, there's 3 diminished seventh chords, each of which can produce 4 dominant sevenths by flattening any of the 4 notes in each of the chords. 4 times 3 is 12, and that accounts for all 12 dominant seventh arpeggios in music. It's one cool way. Pat Martino thought of this, but I did too. I thought of it too. He just made it famous. Seventh chord. You can play with that when you're making chords. It's not just a theory. Broke a G string, dudes. Well, so such is life. And let me think if I have a D string to replace it with. I don't think I do. So hold on a second, if you can. No need to panic. I'll be right back. Thanks, guys. Be right back. Back to I'll use my black guitar. I need a D string for that guitar. I don't have one, but it's perfect. I'll get one very soon. Busted a string. So that guitar was my pink Jam Junior. It's tuned to E flat. Now this is my black one tuned to E. Anyway, so that's a theory of chords. You can also, you're wondering maybe, what about sharpening one of the notes of each of the notes of a diminished seventh arpeggio? Well, that gives you a minor 7-5-5 or half diminished seventh, which isn't as useful as dominant seventh chords are, but they're there. You can take any note of a diminished seventh and sharpen it, and you get a minor 7-5-5 or half diminished seventh. Since there's 4 notes in a diminished seventh arpeggio, you can produce 4 minor 7 flat 5s per each diminished 7th arpeggio, since there's 3 of those. 3 diminished 7th arpeggios in 12-tone music. 3 times 12 is 4 times 3 is 12, which is all 12 minor 7 flat 5s in music. So all 12 minor 7 flat 5 arpeggios can come from sharpening any note in a diminished 7th arpeggio in 12-tone music. That's a diminished 7th. That is B flat diminished 7th. That's a minor 7 flat 5. That would be E minor 7 flat 5. Back down. Again, that's B flat diminished 7th. That is C sharp minor 7 flat 5. No, it isn't. That is let me figure this out. It would be flat 5. That would be B flat minor 7 flat 5. And then back to B, and then back to B flat 7th. And then let's raise this one. That is a mess, is what it is. Let me think. I raised one of the notes. Let me think here. That is. That's a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Back to the B flat diminished 7th. So that's cool. B flat diminished 7th. Let me see. I took that, raise it. That would be, let's see, raise that sucker. That is G minor 7 flat 5. G minor 7 flat 5. That's cool. I like that. Back to B flat diminished 7th. That is E minor 7 flat 5. B flat diminished 7th. Let's do it in a different key and explain. Well, let's do it in that same key. So B flat diminished 7th. C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Diminished 7th. G minor 7 flat 5. Back to B flat diminished 7th. B flat minor 7 flat 5. Back to B flat diminished 7th. Back to B flat diminished 7th. So there you have it. Just sharpen the note in a diminished 7th arpeggio, and you get a minor 7 flat 5 of one key of one key or another. G diminished 7. Sharp one of the notes. That is B flat minor 7 flat 5. Back to the G diminished 7th. Sharp one of the notes. That's now E and E minor 7 flat 5. Back to the G diminished 7. Sharp one of the notes. That is an a G minor 7 flat 5. Back to the G diminished 7th. Sharp with the notes. That is C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Those aren't as useful as the dominant 7ths because the minor 7 flat 5s aren't as useful and pretty. Useful or as pretty as dominant 7th chords or arpeggios, but they're there. One more thing before we go, if you can, please. Let's do the same thing with augmented triads. They're also symmetrical, like as are diminished 7th arpeggios. First, let's lead out on. Do that with the others. Did I just augmented triads. Any augmented triad. Take any note of one. Let's do an augmented triad. Here's a G augmented triad. Flat a note, you get a major triad. That's G augmented triad. Flat the G to F sharp. Major triad. G augmented triad. Flat the B to B flat. B flat major triad. G augmented triad. Flat the D sharp to D. I got a G major triad. If I flat the D to C sharp, sharp major triad. Here's the D. flat to B flat to A. Something I have D major triad. I think that's really cool. Next thing, here's a B flat augmented triad. If I sharp the B flat to B, back to B flat augmented triad. If I sharp the D to E flat, I have an E flat minor triad. Back to B flat augmented triad. If I sharp the F sharp to G, back down from the G back down to F sharp, B flat augmented triad. Here's another case. If I take an E augmented triad, sharp the E to F, back down to E augmented triad. If I sharp the G sharp to A, I have an A minor triad. Back down from the A to the G sharp, E augmented triad. Raise the C to C sharp, C sharp minor triad. Flat the C sharp back to C. I've got an E augmented triad again. So here's the deal. If you don't already see it, take any augmented triad, flatten any of the notes, you get a major triad. Take an augmented triad, sharpen any of the notes, you get a minor triad. There's 4 augmented triads in 12 tones. So since each augmented triad has 3 notes, you can sharp either of those 3 to get a minor triad. But since there's 4 of them, 3 times 4 is 12. Therefore, you get 3 times 4 minor triads in all Western music from taking any of the 4 augmented triads and sharpening one of the notes. Similarly, if you take any augmented triad and flatten any of the notes, you get a major triad. And since there's 4 augmented triads in 12-tone music, you get all 3 times 4 or 12 major triads available by flattening any note of the 4 augmented triads in Western music, because each augmented triad has 3 notes and can generate 3 major triads, and 3 times 4 is 12, which makes it possible to get all 12 major triads in Western music from flattening any of the notes of any of the 4 augmented triads in Western music to get all 12 major triads. So love you guys, peace, love, and rock and roll.